So you want to become a full-time RVer? It's a life-changing decision and a lot to think about.
In this video, we're going to go over some of the steps that we took and some lessons we learned along the way. We put together this awesome video for you on how to start full-time RVing. However, it got to be way too long, so we did have to split it up into part 1 and part 2.
So let's get started and jump right into part 1. Okay, so right off the bat, we want to start off by saying, we are not saying this is how to full-time. We are saying this is how we did it.
How we got started.
We got started full-time RVing and what has worked for us. Everyone's going to have different needs and everyone's going to live different lifestyles. You may have a smaller camper. We have a 44-foot toy hauler. You may have children. You may not have children. You may have pets. You may not have pets.
You may work or you may be retired.
Right.
You may be dependent on internet. You may not be dependent on internet. But we do want to go over the steps that we took when we decided when we're going to go full-time RVing. First step for us was family and friends. And this is a very, for us, I think for most people too, a very, very important step. We wanted to talk to our family and some of our friends, let them know what our plans were, and really kind of want to make sure it was okay with them.
Yeah.
And you have to be very, very honest with yourself on this. Are you willing to maybe give up going to your grandkids' birthday parties, school functions, after school activities?
Yeah.
If you're a caretaker, if you're taking care of maybe your parents, are you able to step away from that for a while, maybe only come home for emergencies? Do you have the means to get home in an emergency?
Right.
If you have hobbies, it's not realistic. If you're a scuba diver, let's say, it's not realistic to be carrying scuba tanks all across the United States. So you may have to give up some of your favorite hobbies and really some time spent with some of your best friends as well. So this is an extremely important question to ask yourself. Talk it over with your family, and again, just be very, very honest with yourself.
Yeah, you really want to make sure you're honest with yourself, but also you want to make sure you have the love and support, especially from your family. God forbid something were to happen to somebody along the way and they weren't supportive or something, or
yeah, you don't want to cause family
regrets.
issues.
Right,
yeah. Now, luckily, what we use, we have 3 different apps that we use to help maybe get over some of this, over some of the being away from family.
It doesn't really help missing them, but it does definitely help us stay in a lot better touch. We have a couple apps that we like to use.
So the first one is called Marco Polo, and we have Android phones. I don't know if iPhone has this or not.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, the kids have it.
So Marco Polo is basically, you can take little videos of yourself. We do this quite often, actually. If we're out on a hike and we want to share something with our family, we'll do a quick 30-second video. And everybody
Sometimes
in our
longer.
group, everybody in our group will have access to it once it gets uploaded. It's actually
you
pretty
invite
quick.
friends and family to your group. You can have a group or you can do it individually, whichever way you want to do it. And a really good thing about it is even if you don't necessarily have phone service in the location that you're at while you're videoing Marco Polo, it will catch up once you have service again, and it will go through.
So you can almost think of it as a group chat with video.
But it's not real time.
Yeah.
You can watch it and respond as you want, at your leisure or whatever. And also there is an
FaceTime.
app. Yeah, FaceTime. For, I'm sure a lot of you having iPhones, you know about FaceTime. That's a really popular app. We are able to do that with our kids when we're together with one of them, because they do FaceTime, but we video chat. And then
Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. You may not know, but doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. If you are on Facebook, if you have a Facebook page, you can go on messaging, I think it is, private messaging, and they have a video chat. There's a video camera emoji, and you will see it. A lot of people don't know that you can actually, it's like FaceTime. It's video chat on Facebook. You can video chat with anybody that you are friends with. I'm not sure if you're not friends with them, if you can or not. I don't think you can. But it's really, really fun, and we do that a lot too.
Yeah. So between those 3 apps and of course regular phone calls, it does help us keep in touch with family while we're on the road, and that's how we get through this first one, talking it over with family and friends.
Yeah, and it's really, really fun, and we're so grateful for them because it does make it a little bit easier as time goes by and without seeing them physically in front of you.
The next step for us was budgeting. Can we even afford the full-time RV? Now, we had something a little bit different maybe than a lot of people. I still work full-time out on the road. I've been working remote for years. Dina did work, but she retired.
Yeah, I gave up a legal secretary position of 34 years to do this.
Yeah, so our income was greatly reduced, so we had to really be honest with ourselves. Could we afford to do this?
Right.
Now, what we like to use for a budgeting purpose is we use on average $60 a night for staying at a campground. That works for us. There's a lot of ways to do that cheaper. A lot of people may like to boondock out on BLM land. You can do that for free. There's clubs or memberships you can join, like Harvest Hose, Boondockers Welcome,
Hip Camp.
Hip Camp.
Yeah.
They allow you for usually a yearly subscription, either stay for free in places for a night or two, or extremely reduced rates. So there's definitely ways you can bring that $60 a night down.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, you can go pretty much as high as you want. There's the resorts out there. You know, if you're into all the amenities, maybe swimming pools, even water parks,
Golf courses.
If you're into all that, you may be the resort kind of person, and you really need to research what, on average, again, what they charge for a night.
And be aware, resorts are not always resorts.
They use that term loosely.
They do. We actually just stayed at a resort that didn't have a shower house, laundry, or a bathroom. They had porta potties in the parking lot for the bath. Awful.
But we did stay at a resort.
Yeah. We've stayed at a few, but that was the worst.
So I did want to go over a couple things that might be new to a budget, something you're not thinking about if you are on a full-time RV. First thing is internet. If you're working, if you still work full-time, you have to have reliable internet. You cannot rely on campground Wi-Fi.
No way.
Don't do that. Do not rely. If it's there, great, but you cannot rely on it. So we'll talk about this later on when we get into our internet section. There's a lot of options with that, but it can get pricey. It can, I think we're over $300 a month just for internet service right now. So that's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Storage units. If you're going to be on the road full time, maybe you're going to sell a house, or maybe if you're not even going to sell a house, you may have to start storing stuff. Something, and that's what we do.
We sold our house and almost everything in it. Got a small storage unit that we're paying a pretty penny for.
Yeah,
by the way.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. RV memberships and subscriptions. This is a mistake that we made when we first got into this. We watched all the YouTube channels, and everybody's out there telling you, get this subscription, get this one, get this membership, and we did. We're all excited and ready to go. And then based on the way we travel, we didn't use any of them.
Yeah.
So that first year was kind of a waste. We only have a couple now that we use, but even then, just our patterns, we don't really use them that much. So just be aware of subscriptions and memberships as well. RV maintenance, that's another big one. And again, this is going to be different based on the type of RV you get, or even, maybe how much you travel and how you travel. But you do want to put some money aside for RV maintenance, because these are RVs and they're going to break at some point.
And don't forget the RV payment. If you have a payment on your RV, and insurance.
And
too.
RV insurance, So these are all things to consider. Tow vehicles. If you're going to have a tow vehicle, you're going to pull something behind. Tow vehicles break down. general maintenance, oil changes, tires, things like that.
Right.
These are just, again, things to consider. And unexpected emergencies. This is kind of a big one. And this is kind of a broad category. We're just going to call them emergencies. But, we've had times where we've had a family, a medical condition maybe back
With our daughter.
in Florida, and we could be in Washington State. You have to pick up or maybe fly back to Florida. So those are the kind of emergencies we're talking about. Maybe a parent or somebody gets sick and you have to go help them for a little bit. You need to have the ability to get back when needed. So that's definitely something to consider.
Right.
The other thing is you want to make sure you budget for adventures and excursions. That's the whole reason why you're doing this in the first place.
Living life to the fullest.
That's right, sometimes.
As much as we can anyway.
But this is kind of a big one for us too. We really try to take advantage of every place we go. We try to do as much as we can, so we do have to budget for it. We've rented side-by-sides, I don't know, just ATVs and things like that. And some adventures cost money, jet boats, things like. So just be aware, if you're gonna do this full time, you're gonna want to go out and play a little bit. So you're gonna want to make sure you budget for that as well. The next step for us, and this is a big one, how do we pay our taxes? What is our home address? How do we get around all this? Now, when we decided to go full-time RVing, we sold our house, so we didn't even have a home address anymore. The big question is, how do you get around that? We got to keep Uncle Sam happy. The way to do this is services out there called mail forwarding services. And there's 3 states that most people use due to tax reasons. It was Texas, South Dakota, and Florida. Those are kind of the big 3. Now, we grew up in Florida. We lived there our whole lives, so for us, it only made sense to stick with a mail forwarding service in Florida. If you've never heard of these are legal domicile addresses. We use them for banking. We use them for our federal taxes. We use them for auto registrations.
Everything. It's on our driver's license.
Our driver's license. It's a legal domicile, so you can use it for legal documents. Again, they're mail forwarding services. Now, the one we decided to go with was My RV Mail.
And let me tell you something. We have used them for almost 4 years now. They are great.
Yeah, we never had a problem.
We've never had one issue with them. They are fantastic.
Yeah, so my RV Mail, again, the reason why we decided to go with them because they're based out of Florida, and we already had Florida driver's license stuff, and it just made sense. By the way, we are affiliated with them. We will put a link down below if it's something you want to look at. Please use our link and check them out. But we have nothing but good things to say about them. Now, the other thing that helped us, here's a little tip. Go with My RV Mail was there's a few places in Florida mail forwarding services we could chose from. What we ended up doing was I looked around in Florida for the cheapest auto insurance and lo and behold, is up in the Panhandle, kind of close to where My RV Mail is located. So that's what made us go with the decision to go with My RV Mail. I'd kind of feel silly if I chose one, let's say, down in Miami. And watch my auto insurance quadruple. But that's something that we did just to help, save a little bit of money. It is about $20 a month for the mail forwarding service.
Very well worth it.
Yeah, and they're all roughly the same, give or take, depending on the packages you get or the services you require. They do what we do. What works for us is we usually wait until we get some mail or mail that we need. They'll just sit in the mailbox for however long, and then once we need the mail, we usually will tell them, if we do it all online, all on the web, ship it to this address, and we usually get that started a couple days before we actually get to that address. That way the mail's already kind of en route when we're en route, and usually a day or 2 after we're there, the mail shows up. It just gives us that little bit of extra time in case there's a delay in mail for whatever reason, a little bit of a safety factor.
Yeah.
And we usually stay somewhere for 2 weeks, so it's not much of an issue, but
Yeah. You never know.
yeah, why not get it a little
But it
bit
hasn't
sooner?
been
Yeah.
ever yet. So
Yeah.
I'm very
So
happy.
that's again mail forwarding services. That's their legal domiciles, and it's something very, very important. It is a big decision to make as well.
And the next step for us is a pretty big one too.
Yeah.
Doctors and medications. Now we both have a primary physician in Florida and in California. We spend quite a bit of time in California, a couple months, once a year or
Yeah.
every other year. And we try to keep up with all of our tests, our blood work, getting refills, dentist appointments, dermatology, eye doctors, just everything.
Yeah.
The female doctors, if you know what I mean, everything. And
I have a female doctor.
what?
I have a female doctor.
I meant female issues.
Oh, I don't have those.
OBGYN.
Never mind, I don't have those.
Okay, that was funny. I'll give them that. So we try to schedule these appointments well in advance because, as you know, doctor appointments can book up 4 or 5, sometimes even 6 months ahead.
And I think this is probably one of the, I don't want to call it the toughest things, but
Yeah,
something
it can be.
It can be. You really, really have to stay on top of this is planning ahead for doctor visits. If you know you're going to, let's take Florida. If you
Yeah.
know you're going to go to Florida for a few months,
Right.
don't wait till you get there to start planning
No,
doctor
you
visits.
can't.
Plan well ahead of time.
Yeah.
That burned us a couple times because
Yeah.
we didn't do it. It's a very, very big one.
Yeah. Actually, I just missed a doctor appointment last month because we weren't going to be in the area anymore. They didn't have
Yeah.
it while we were there. But anyway, it is what it is. It is a pretty big deal though. And another thing is with medications. We like to use for our pharmacies, we use CVS and Walgreens. Dan is lucky. He's on like a mail. You get yours through
Yeah,
the
like
mail
90
lot of
days at a
times.
time. Yeah.
So his is really good. I'm on quite a few different medications, so for me it's a little bit more entailed.
Yeah.
Mail won't work for me. But another thing is like one of my prescriptions has to be refrigerated, and a lot of pharmacies don't carry it. So if I call, say I know I'm going to be running out of medication or need a refill in a week or two, I'll call wherever we're going to be in that area to put in my refill order for it. And if it's not possible, they'll call me back and let me know. And usually when I tell them, look, we full-time RV, I'm out of my medication or I'm going to be out before you can get, is there any way you can speed it up? They are so kind enough usually to make it work one way or another. So, and another issue I was going to say was what?
Keep your doctor's contact information with you. That's going back to doctors. We, like Dina said earlier, we do try to get caught up on everything when we're in California or Florida, but things happen in between.
Right.
And you do have emergencies. You do have times you may have to go, get a shot or whatever. You get sick, you got to go somewhere. You may dermatology or an eye doctor. Keep that contact information with you, so when you do get back to your primary, it makes it a lot easier for them to contact, to get your past records or something like that.
Right.
So.
Another thing I was going to say is, with me personally, I have a few issues where some medications in Florida that are not narcotics are considered narcotics in other states. We've had that happen a few times, and I've had to get on the phone with my doctor and have him personally call the pharmacist and call in like a whole new script to that specific location. Otherwise, they would not refill it. So it is kind of a pain. Once in a while it can be if you're not careful. Like I said, I'm on a few medications.
But plan ahead is the big
Plan ahead is the biggest. Just be aware, just be careful. Watch your medication refills and stuff like that.
The other thing we wanted to bring up in this category is vets.
Yes.
It's kind of the same thing. Just think of doctor visits and medications. If you're traveling with pets, they have the same needs
Yes.
as you.
Yeah.
And again, what we try to do when we're at a place for a longer period of time, we'll get Rodeo, we'll get all her shots, get her caught up, all the vet visits, any meds she may need on the road, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
definitely consider vets and with your doctor.
And I'd like to add, make sure if you do have more than one primary physician, make sure you put them on the same page to copy each other, so they're always in the loop with what's going on with you and your medications that you're on. Also, don't forget your any tests, blood work, tests, like we said, dental work, and another thing I was going to say. For the vet, did you say to also always ask for a copy of your records?
No, I forgot.
Yeah, always ask for a copy of your vet records too, because traveling, especially if an emergency comes up, they always want to know.
Or if you're going to go into Canada as well, you're going to have vet records.
That's true too.
So again, something to think about is doctors and meds and vets.
Our next step, and it's a biggie, is internet connectivity. And I'm retired, so I'm leaving it to this guy because I really don't care. Unless it's not working, then I care.
You're trying to watch the Kardashians.
Kardashians.
So this is a big one for us, and I have a list. I got a lot I want to try to get through here pretty quick. Again, I think I already told you, I work full time. I have to have solid internet. And to be honest with you, there's no such thing as solid internet while you're on the road, but there's some good ways and some good approaches you can take. Something I think some people make a mistake is they say, oh, I'm just going to use campground Wi-Fi. We mentioned this earlier. Please don't do that. You cannot rely on campground Wi-Fi. If you happen to be somewhere and it's working, great, that's a bonus. But you just can't rely on it, especially if you're trying to work, maybe even stream Netflix or something like that. A lot of these campgrounds, it's very, very, very slow speeds if you even get a signal. So I just kind of wanted to go through a few ways, some things to think about if you do need internet. So probably one of the most simplest ways would be to take your phone and you can turn it into a hotspot. Now this basically locks up your phone. Your phone is now being used as a hotspot, or somebody's streaming something on TV or going through the internet, looking at mail. It's not like you can just take your phone and go somewhere because they're going to lose their connection. But it's probably the cheapest way of getting on there other than something free. So it is good. It's a cheap way to get on the internet, but again, you're going to be kind of limited. It might be great if you only want to check emails once in a while, or you need to send a text, or mainly like email type stuff. Something very, very minor that you really don't need super great, solid, reliable connectivity. The next step, these again are just kind of my personal opinions. The next step, or one step above using your phone for a hotspot, would be to actually go out and buy a hotspot. Now these are little devices. They're called hotspots or jetpacks. They're based on a cellular carrier. We actually have 3 of them, or we had 3 of them. We have T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon, and they're solely dedicated to internet access via a cell service or a cellular provider. So what we used to do, and we'll get to tell you in a minute what we're doing now, what we used to do when we get somewhere is I would take my hotspots, I would see which one worked the best in that location, and that's the one that I would use. So it worked great. We did it for 2 years. It does have some issues with it, but overall it worked great. Again, I work all the time and I've used it. Couple things about this though is if you only buy one hotspot and maybe that provider's not in the area you're going to, you're not going to have internet service. So there are some pitfalls with that as well, and of course there's additional costs because now you have a hotspot as well. So the next, let's say the step up from that would be multiple hotspots. I kind of alluded that a minute ago. We had 3 of them, and what that does is basically redundancy. So if you go somewhere and you have, let's say, Verizon, they may not be in the area. Well, maybe your T-Mobile hotspot works or your AT&T hotspot works. So it gives you that redundancy, and if you need to have internet, you have to have redundancy on the road. It just personally, we found out overall T-Mobile does seem to work best for us. So if I was to only have one hotspot, I would probably do T-Mobile. Again, based on the way we travel and the places that we go. Another, I'm going to call this another step up from multiple hotspots, would be to add a router into your internet, your system. Now, what a router does is your router, and I'm specifically talking about a Wi-Fi router, so that this router can connect to campground Wi-Fi. It can also connect to multiple hotspots at the same time. Now, the nice thing with routers is it does give you that redundancy with multiple hotspots, but all your peripherals, your cell phones, your TVs, your laptops, they connect to that router. So it's a one-time connection. You set it when you set your configurations up. You tell them to connect to the router. If you happen to change hotspots, you know, today you're on Verizon, tomorrow you're on campground Wi-Fi, the next day you're on T-Mobile, your TV and laptops, they don't care. All they know is the router. So that's another option. Now, what we did this past year, and I think this is top notch, I can't say anything bad about it, is Starlink. We added Starlink to our internet setup, and that is my primary internet connectivity. Today we use it all the time. So we have a router that connects to Starlink, and of course Starlink goes out and connects to the satellites. A couple nice things with Starlink is, as of today anyways, the plans, the data you can use is pretty much unlimited. I think it's like a terabyte a month, which we just never go through. So we can stream Netflix every night if we wanted to and not worry about running over data. Again, things do change. That's as of today. With our hotspots, we had to watch what we did. Again, I needed them for work, so work comes first, and it was always a balancing act. If we have enough data, sure, we'll watch something on Netflix. If not, we're not going to do it. So we added Starlink to our internet arsenal, and loved it ever since. Now, everything has a downside to it. Starlink, they're changing their plans all the time. We just had a plan change recently, and it did go up. I think we're paying $165 a month right now for Starlink. I think it's worth it because it's so reliable. Again, another downside though is we have to have a clear line of sight to the sky. So when we decide on campgrounds to stay at, we're actually looking like on Google Maps or Google Earth at the campground to make sure they're open. We have a clear line of sight to the sky, so it does limit us. We can't go to Jellystone National Park and amongst all the trees, because I would never have service with Starlink.
We're trying to figure out how we're going to do Canada.
Yeah, that's a whole other video there. But yeah, so internet for us was a biggie, and there's a lot of options out there, and it's just something. It's going to be different for everybody. If you only need to check emails once in a while, or if you need solid internet to work online, it's definitely something to think about.
Hopefully our video gave you some helpful tips on how to full-time RV.
And trust me, next week, part 2, will definitely give you some things to think about.
We hope you enjoyed our video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch next week. Have a great week and safe travels.
Remember, always live life to the fullest.
God bless. See you next week.